the mother's dark secret. When the puppet master becomes the prey, the city hummed with an eerie stillness as midnight approached. A dense fog slithered through the narrow streets, curling around the lampposts like silent specters. Somewhere, deep in the underbelly of the city, a woman paced back and forth in a dimly lit room, her breath ragged, her mind unraveling. She was known to those who feared her as mother, a name whispered in hushed tones, a presence cloaked in secrets. But tonight, mother was afraid. Her hands trembled as she clutched the frayed edges of a crumpled document, her final, desperate attempt to keep the illusion intact. For years, she had ruled in the shadows, orchestrating chaos with a smirk and a flick of her fingers. She had forged documents, pulled strings, whispered lies into the ears of men who thought they held power. But tonight, she was the one being hunted. The walls were closing in, they knew. Somewhere across the city, the pieces had begun to fall into place. The deception, the false claims of lineage, the manufactured history, everything had come undone. The powerful figures she once manipulated had turned their backs, leaving her exposed, vulnerable. But what haunted her most was the realization that the very forces she had called upon for protection had abandoned her. A low hum filled the room, rattling the glass on the windows. Mother spun around, eyes wild. The candles flickered violently, casting erratic shadows that danced across the walls. She could feel it now, the weight of something ancient, something she could no longer control. The whispers had reached them. Across the city, Elias Mercer, a man who had spent years untangling the web of deception, sat in the darkened headquarters of his investigative unit. The documents before him laid bare the truth. Mother was a fraud, a puppet master who had built her empire on stolen identities, dark rituals, and whispered threats. But her greatest crime: she had dared to steal from the ones who could not be deceived. He picked up his phone, his voice calm yet edged with finality. Tonight, we end this. Back in the shadows of Mother's den, the air thickened. A deep, guttural sound crawled up from the floorboards. She pressed herself against the desk, muttering frantic incantations under her breath. But nothing was working. The words, once powerful, now slipped through her fingers like grains of sand. And then, the lights cut out. She gasped, heart hammering, as a single match flickered to life in the darkness. It illuminated the edges of a familiar face, a face she had buried long ago. "You really thought you could erase me?" Selini's voice was steady, filled with something ancient, something unyielding. Mother swallowed hard. "You don't understand. I did what I had to. Save it," Selini interrupted, stepping closer, the match casting elongated shadows over the room. "You built a kingdom on stolen names and borrowed power, but you forgot one thing." Mother clenched her fists, nails digging into her palms. "What?" she hissed. Selini smiled, slow and deliberate. "The ones who watch, they never forget." The air split open. A deafening roar filled the space, shaking the very foundation of the building. Mother barely had time to scream before the darkness swallowed her whole. And just like that, the reign of the Dark Witch was over.